Hello and welcome back to my study. It's Friday and it's the end of the week. I've stopped writing for the week. It's been quite a productive time and I'm quite tired. It's the 1st of August, so white rabbits, as we used to say in my family, and my friend, the late Leslie Cookman, who was a wonderful detective writer, she always used to say white rabbits on the 1st of the month for good luck. Today is the day that I choose next month's mystery book bag. As you know, my task to myself this year has been to read from the mystery book bags. I filled loads of them, each of them with 6 books each, and they're all in the corner of my study, my messy study, piled up, making quite a heap with scarves and everything chucked on top to disguise it. I choose one at random on the 1st of the month, each month, and I try to make my way through all of those books in the month. I do have other claims on my reading time, of course. There's the monthly book club book for our local club. We met last night and talked about Gillian, whatever she's called. I've already blocked it from my mind because I didn't finish and didn't like last month's book club. I was the only one. I was in disgrace for not finishing. But that's all right. I read 200 pages and it was enough. Next month is 1984 by George Orwell, which I read several years ago, and I'm ready to revisit. And it seems like the kind of time politically to revisit George Orwell. We're going to see the play as well. There's a play on in Stockport in October, I believe, and we've just booked to go and see that as a group on a book club night out, which should be fun. Our book club nights out are quite good. We go for dinner or we go for a play about twice a year. So the next thing is, and I've got to finish Liam Living's as well. I'm halfway through my Christmas romance, a picture perfect Christmas, which I'm still on with, which is annoying because I would like to. I'm enjoying it, but I wish I'd finished it by the end of last month. These are the arbitrary rules that we set ourselves, aren't they? But I'll finish that before moving on to my book bag. I shall root around and decide which one. Last month, I couldn't. I'll just stand up this phone. Sorry, that's going to be really annoying. It's going to make everybody ill, seasick. Last month, I was sat with a cat on my lap and I could barely reach across to the book bags, and he dictated my reading last month by being completely still and heavy on my lap, and I ended up with a book bag that was okay but not the best. I think I read half of the things from that selection, which isn't ideal. I'm much happier when I've read the whole thing. I can read everything in the mystery bag. But anyway, it's an interesting project still. So let's see. I kind of want something that's not too heavy and not too full. That's what I want. These are all tote bags from various things in the past. That's YALC, the Young Adults Literature Convention that I went to in 2015, looking back. I think that's the one that was at Olympia. That was a funny old do. And what's this one? I think this is from the Abominable Book Club, which was a book box club that I joined a couple of years ago, where you'd get a monthly selection of things. You got horror novels, kind of recent ones, and various tea bags and sweets and stickers and things. It was quite nice. It was a bit like being in a book club at school. That's what I liked about it, the old chip club. Here's one from... I could go on just looking at the bags all day before I even open them. Here's one from, I think... Oh, the Edinburgh Book Festival. You get a tote bag every year when you went, which was nice. I used to love going to the book festival in Edinburgh. It was at the end of our street, and I lived there 30 years ago. I lived on Thistle Street, up a fire escape, round the back of James Thynne bookshop, and Liberties and Oddbins, and we were just round the corner from Charlotte Square, where they used to hold the book festival for years and years, and all these tents, and it was a lovely location. They've moved now across town, I think, to the old hospital, which would give me the shivers because of Jeremy's time there, which was a kind of a disturbing summer of '97. But I've not been back for a few years. 2018 was the last time I went to the book festival. I went for a number of years in a row, and they'd have me on teaching and doing talks about other people's books. And then they'd have me read and do stuff from my Mars trilogy that I did for Firefly, which was very nice of them. But it's a funny old thing going to a festival like that, because some of the treatment's nice and some of it isn't. So I've got fond memories of the Edinburgh Book Festival, but there were a few awful moments, I have to say. But mostly good, I think. I'd love to go again and do something. It used to be a regular trip in August to Edinburgh and stay with my friend Stuart, and George would come as well, George Mann, and we'd have these lovely book shopping trips, really, that's what they were, and boozing trips. I don't drink anymore, and I'm trying not to buy so many books, and I don't get asked to go and do festival talks. Although that's not true. I'm doing Whitby Literature Festival in November, their inaugural festival. I don't know if I've mentioned that on here. This is in November, and I'll be talking on the Saturday. It's about the 9th, I think, in November, but I'll have to check that. And I'll be talking about the Brenda and Effie mysteries and my Doctor Who meets Dracula novel, which will be out by then. So I've got lots of literary links to Whitby, of course, and it'll be lovely to be at that festival talking about them. I'm also doing the Derby Doctor Who convention, the Hoovers, in, is it called the Hoovers or is it Hootopia? I don't know what the actual convention's called. In the end of August. And they've very nicely asked me to go and do a gig there. And it's good because they mix up, like all the best conventions do, they mix up authors and actors. And that's nice, because I think people want to see all of those people. To be fair, writers usually have the best stories to tell, and more things to sign. So I'll be doing that at the end of August as well. So I do have some trips out. It's not true that I don't get asked to go out and do things so much. So that's this yellow bag. I might open that one. I kind of really want something that's not so heavy. As I said, August is going to be busy with Levy Pride next weekend. A week today it begins. And on the Saturday and Sunday, I'll have a market stall at the Klondike in Levenshulme, one of the 20-odd venues for Levy Pride, which Jeremy organises. And I'll have a stall with my artwork, prints, and some books, hopefully, as well. So if people are around in Levenshulme in Manchester, do come and see me and buy stuff and take part in Levy Pride. Levenshulme Pride, I should say. People in Levy don't like you calling it Levy so much, I don't think. M&S carrier bag full of books. Maybe I should read what's in here to get rid of a carrier bag that's not quite so aesthetic as the young people say on YouTube. They've given up saying aesthetically pleasing. They just shorten it to aesthetic, which is funny. Yeah, I'll open this. It's a Marks & Spencer's carrier bag. Such, I'm perched right on the edge. Can you move? Time waster cat, as that person called him on the comments the other day. Your cat is a time waster. Right, they're all interesting, I think. I say at first glance. I think the fact I can hold them in one hand is good. They're not too long. Speaking of the Abominable Book Club, here was one that came from that, The Pale House Devil by Richard Cadre. So it's a recent horror novel. I think a haunted house kind of thing. Oh, it's signed hardback, that's nice. Again, I'm lifting off my glasses in order to read because these are Specsavers glasses that I got 3 years ago, and they're terrible. I won't be taking any sponsorship from Specsavers, thank you. They've been hopeless. Paranormal Mercenaries, One Living, One Undead, blah, blah, blah. Job Goes Wrong in New York. Haunting a Mansion in California. Ford and Neuland Investigate. Legacy of Blood, Sacrifice, Slavery. A Creature Unlike Anything. Blah, blah, blah. Most Frightening Monster. So that all sounds good. And it's quite short. That makes me happy. I've been raging against books that are too long. That's what was wrong with the Gillian Watsit novel that I failed to read for book club. It was wrong with the Lucy Foley novel that I read. 100,000 words isn't right for a lot of novels these days. And this kind of novella length thing looks good to me. I hope it's good. Published by Titan Books. Now, Titan published my friend Stuart Douglas, and they also published George Mann, and his steampunk books. Yeah, 113 pages. Stuart's Breton and Lowe detective novels, 2 of them have come out with Titan, and I think they're good. I mean, his books are good, but Titan are a good publisher, I think. I love the way they've gone into fantasy and science fiction and horror and mysteries as heavily as they have. It used to be, it just seemed as if they did tie-ins and reprints, but all the kind of nice stuff in those specific genres, all the interesting stuff, to me, seems to be coming out from Titan lately. Right, this is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Now, why have I got this? I think I was looking into romantasy. That was the idea. Let me worship you, he said. His request felt sinful and devious, and she revelled in it. She answered, yes. I think this is going to be a mucky book. Oh, it's about Persephone and Hades. Okay, so it's a kind of sexy updating of the underworld story. Goddesses and filth. So we'll see. I have dipped into romantasy, thinking I must find out what this is like, what paranormal romance, that genre I loved 10 or 15 years ago, what has it become as it's merged with YA, fantasy fiction, after Twilight and all that stuff. And as far as I make out, it's become kind of bollocks, kind of erotic, semi-erotic rubbish. I haven't been impressed with what I've read so far in that genre, I don't think. But I'm prepared to carry on. So I'm going to read A Touch of Darkness because it's based on Greek myth, isn't it? So, as you know, I loved the semi-erotic or very erotic Achilles, Song of Achilles that I read earlier this year. This is a kind of straight one, which is like... right, here's a doggy book, A Dog's Purpose by W. Bruce Cameron, which I think I read about, and there's a film, I believe. It's one dog's search for purpose over the course of several lives. Why are we here? So he's reborn as a puppy and then lives through various lives and meets different people. I'm not going to read blurbs out. People, I don't think, like it. I don't like it when people read blurbs out. They go on too long. And as I've said before, blurbs on the backs of books these days are not very good. They they kind of invented that stilted, overly polished, ultimately contentless prose that AI has perfected before AI was a thing. So this looks nice. It's reminding me, giving me vibes, as they say, of Fluke by James Herbert. Do you remember that from the 70s? And it's been in print ever since. A slightly mystical book, a mysterious and I think quite philosophical book. The dog who thinks he's a man and the man who thinks he's a dog, which is he? And I think we find out by the end, but I forget. Right, this is something I've meant to read. Nita Prose, The Maid, which was a bestseller, I believe. Oh, it's good. Lots of these come from the charity shop. around the corner, so they probably cost 50p each, which is great. It begins like any other day for Molly Gray, silently dusting her way through the luxury rooms at the Regency Grand Hotel. But when she enters Suite 401 and discovers an infamous guest dead in his bed, a very messy mystery begins to unfold. Secrets beneath the surface, fingerprints amongst the filth, it's the maid. So it's a kind of old-fashioned murder mystery, but one that's done very well, I believe. So this came out in 2023. Good. I love things set in hotels. 2 more. Here's somebody I've not read for years, Douglas Kennedy. And I bought this a while ago and put it by, and for some reason never got to it. I used to read everything Douglas Kennedy published as soon as it came out. He was somebody that I had this mad literary crush on back in 2001, I think. I read The Pursuit of Happiness. It was the one about the woman who becomes a journalist in New York in the 40s or 50s, I think. And we learn so much about that world. And it's a kind of mystery. It's a long novel as well. Another one that I give a free pass to for being a long novel because it was so absorbing. And I read A Special Relationship, State of the Union, Temptation, and these were as they were coming out. I think once a year or every 2 years. The Woman in the Fifth, which became my favourite, it had a kind of supernatural bent to it. It was about a fella in Paris and he keeps going back to an apartment and he has this mad affair with a woman who lives there, but she lives in the past, and every time he goes to the apartment, it's back in the 1970s. And there's something very magical about that. It was filmed. There's a film of that, The Woman in the Fifth. And did I read Leaving the World? I think so. And The Moment? I believe so. But he'd kind of peaked for me at that point, and I wasn't as into the ones that came after. In every book of his, there's a moment when the hero or heroine loses everything and has to reinvent their life from scratch, and they build themselves back up. They end up living somewhere that's filthy, so they clean it, and you get a whole chapter that's basically a montage, like in a movie, where they're cleaning floors and cleaning walls, and then they paint everything white, and then they have very basic furniture, and they build their lives back up. It's amazing. It's like a kind of self-help book happening in the middle of the story. It becomes quite predictable in the end. You're waiting for that moment each time. Very odd thing to do, but it's obviously something that people who love his books get something out of, and I guess I was when I was reading him every time he brought something into the world. Anyway, this is 5 days, and this was published in... This is the point at which I stopped reading him, 2013, so it's ages ago. I must have spent 10 years reading everything. And then, as happens, I just lost that impulse to read him. And it's nice in a way because it means that things come out and you've got them to catch up with if you fancy it later. See, there's a receipt in here. So I bought this in 2019. So I've had it on the shelf 6 years and still haven't read it. So this is why the book bag thing is good. It makes me sit down and read these things. For 20 years, Laura's been a good wife, and I wasn't going to read the blurbs. So she's supported all of her family, and now she's thinking about the place that she'd like to go. She's not unhappy. She's putting on a brave face. But a chance meeting in a hotel lobby and the 5 days that follow remind Laura of the young woman she used to be, and the young woman she could have become, and the woman she could have become. Is it ever too late to have the life you wanted? Or do we owe it to ourselves to pursue the promise of happiness? His books are about self-reinvention and the possibility of that, and he always comes down firmly on the side that you can, I think. I think that's what he's saying. The opposite of my other great favourite, Ann Tyler, who writes about the life you didn't have, the road not taken, and she comes down firmly on the side of, yes, you can try that out, but actually people revert to type. The past comes back for you. Every character that runs away from their lives in an Ann Tyler novel soon finds the past turning up on their doorstep or turning up at the wedding that they go to, or it's almost as much of a kind of literary tick as Douglas Kennedy's reinvention tropes. Right, the last one of the 6 is another horror novel. It's a YA horror novel that I wish I'd read before. I really like the look of it. Bite Risk by S.J. Wills. I think it's a vampire novel. It looks influenced by that whole retro aesthetic of Stranger Things, with a touch of Goosebumps perhaps, or Fear Street, and for fans of those kinds of books. Sel Archer, Ordinary Town, Ordinary Residence, except for one night a month when the full moon rises, all the adults turn into werewolves, and it's up to the kids to protect themselves. Yep. So it's a kind of, I forget the name of that film where everyone goes bonkers. Doesn't matter. Anyway, it's Simon & Schuster. Simon & Schuster kids books. I could tell you some stories about them and being published by them and what that was like back in the early 2000s. Anyway, this looks fantastic, and I think there's a sequel to this now. I do hope I'm holding the covers up long enough for you to see. I'm trying really hard to keep doing that, so I'm not just kind of whizzing through things. Right, those are my 6 books for the month. 7 with George Orwell and Book Club. Not too bad, not too shabby, I don't think. All of them kind of hold my interest. They're not particularly summary books. I'd say that Douglas Kennedy's a very kind of summary reader. A mystery, a life-changing literary novel about ordinary people doing things to their lives, mucking them up usually, a YA horror, an adult horror novella, a romantasy based on Greek myth. That's the one I'm least looking forward to. It sounds a bit eggy, as my friend Mike always calls things that are a bit naff. A dog book, a kind of a fantasy doggy book, and a classic, 1984. And that should be August. I hope so. I hope I get through them. I'll let you know. Whoops. You've got to keep on checking in with me and leaving comments and subscribing and spreading the word that I'm here doing the thing I'm doing and talking about books from my study with my cat, who's usually asleep, as he is now. Goodbye, everyone, and I'll see you again quite soon. Take care.